Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Round 5 of Open Wheel for Amateurs 2023, Season 3, the Dutch Grand Prix at Circuit Zandvoort, brought to you by Ninja Botanicals and AlienAwards.net. Ahead lies a 34-lap feature and a 26-lap sprint around this ultra-difficult 4.2-kilometer track. Last race saw Nicholas Paletti with a Verstappen-like performance take pole position and lead every lap of both races, save the first 5 laps of the reverse grid sprint at Spa. Zach Nurnberger had another event win for the B-Class, coming in at 5th and 6th overall in their respective heats. Both drivers continue to hold strong leads in their competition in each class, but plenty of battles are brewing throughout the midfield. As always, I'm joined in the booth by my co-host, Aaron Claybaugh. Aaron, this is a brutal track and actually rather obscure in iRacing terms despite being one of the first formula tracks added to the service. After some big fan favorite tracks, how does this potentially mix up the field?
Yeah, well, I mean, you see right now, we got Nick Paletti and Ken Huber 1-2, and they've been some of the strongest drivers so far this season. So I think really driver skill is going to play a big role in tonight's race here.
As you can see here, our qualifying results, as we were not able to air qualifying due to technical difficulty. Nicholas Paletti takes pole again by 2 thousandths ahead of Ken Huber, hoping to finally have a complete race here. Jeff McDonald coming in 3rd, Garcia in 4th, and Cube in 5th. McCombs leads the B-Class in 6th with his first race in this series. Stephen Thompson in 7th, Zach Nurnberger in 8th, Chris Newby in 9th, and Kevin Berquist in 10th. Rounding out the rest of the field, Richard Curry in 11th, John Kelly 12th, Daniel Burnett 13th, and James Foreman 14th. You'll have to ignore my name there. That is a mistake, so just pretend it doesn't exist there for the rest of tonight.
Yep, and we get the drivers here. They're all gridding up, getting ready for this standing start. We haven't had a lot of success on standing starts this season, a lot of red flags, so hoping we can have a clean start here tonight. And I think the reason why we're waiting here is for Zach Nurnberger. He has an ELL, so he'll be starting from the pits. Yeah,
good point on mentioning that. They actually are also technically waiting on me because I'm not joining the race. So we will get these full 2 minutes, but it's just a few seconds counting down. And Nicholas Paletti is going to lead the field yet again from the front, and it is going to be a tough run down into corner 1. It's a very short run. Let's see what Ken Huber is able to make of it as the gridding procedure has now completed, and they're waiting on the lights. As they wait, red lights coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Green flag, go! Green flag. Nicholas Paletti heads down, and a great start by Jeff McDonald. Slow start for Steve Cubay in the back there. Ken Huber making his way down the front. Nowhere for Jeff McDonald to go. Around the outside, Paletti looks like he keeps it safe. Behind,
but he goes a little wide there. Here comes Ken Huber on the outside. That's not the line you want here, but just making him known that he is there and ready to pounce.
Couple cars wide back in the field. Stephen Thompson making a move. It looks like on Brad McCombs, a little bit of a twitch, but he keeps the car under control. Everyone's making it through safely.
Ken Huber all over the back of Paletti, just not letting him get any sort of breathing room right here. And I'm sure Ken's just hoping his connection will hold up for the whole race tonight because he's got strong pace here yet again this week.
This is a track that is definitely devoid of passing opportunities. Any pass you make is going to be a brave one. Very difficult to make anything work outside of just a few corners here. And right now, Ken Huber trying to stay close to give himself an opportunity. And really, the entire field is very close. Fortunately for Zach Nurnberger there, having to pay the price of that pit lane start due to an end-of-line penalty from the last race. And I guess he'll just be hoping on a safety car coming out here. But this is a short track, short lap, and not much left to go here.
No, I am in shock that we've had well, I spoke too soon. We got an incident. Looks like Daniel Barnett. Single car incident, but nonetheless, that is an incident. Let's see what happened here. Yeah, it looks like just kind of locked up, just a little too much speed there. So, we got a big incident in the last corner there.
A lot of cars off track, and I think that no one really got into a crash. It was just some lost spots. Chris Newby losing spots, Adrian Garcia both going off in the final corner of Ari Leyendyk, and that actually gives Zach Nurnberger their positions, a couple positions there. Brad McCombs just made the move on Stephen Thompson as well. These two were battling early in the race. Here's Brad McCombs on the outside coming through Gerlachbach. That is a brave pass.
That is a very brave move. Good on him to really pounce and get those moves done, because you got to take every advantage you can out here. You can't just sit in line and follow, because you're not going to get up far enough.
Thompson staying plenty close here, though, trying to keep it competitive. Meanwhile, at the front, Ken Huber stays close while Jeff McDonald drops off a little bit. And this, you can see him right there in the front. Brad McCombs trying to chase him down, but it potentially may turn into a two-car battle if this continues.
Yeah, and we see, it looks like, I believe that Stephen Thompson trying to reel Brad McCombs back in here.
Yeah, just had a little bit of a bad exit off of Tarzanbach, and not a standard passing opportunity, but Brad McCombs had that overspeed. He had that confidence to take it around the outside, because that is a tough braking zone, especially early on these cold tires. I mean, I heard plenty of very fast drivers in this field talking about how hard it and how crucial it was going to be to keep those tires safe for just the first couple laps, and then once you can get them up to temperature, it's a lot easier. As Ken Huber there with the purple lap, looking like he's making it easy right now as well. But that may be what we saw from those 3 incidents or so earlier in the race, just drivers with too cold tires. As they come through a Hugenholzbach there, that turn and the first turn, Tarzanbach more banked now in real life than they are here in this older scan, but a new scan is coming. So all Zandvoort fans very excited for that. But it is one of the very difficult corners on this track, and these cars certainly seem to handle it well. Again, last time Pony Express was here was a test race for endurance for amateurs with the GT3. So it's interesting comparing it to that for anybody who remembers that race about a year ago now. Ken Huber staying plenty close here to Paletti, but not able to make any attacks for moves yet. He's got a couple purple sectors, so clearly has that speed, but he's really enduring what's happening a lot with Zandvoort, where you just don't have that passing opportunity. And there are places where you're quick, but it doesn't matter because there's just nowhere to get around. Having some technical difficulties on the co-commentator side, so we will wait for the return for Aaron Claybaugh. Ken Huber here finally has that opportunity to make a move. He's going to take it too wide into Tarzanbach on the inside, the preferred line. He's a nose ahead, and he's going to take the position for now, but he still has to defend. Now coming through Gerlachbach into Hugenholzbach. He takes the lead in a little bit of a wiggle. Keeps it on the road. Nicholas Paletti has to slot in behind, and a bit of a lockup there, as you saw in the background also, to make matters worse. Right behind that is close between McCombs and McDonald, and McCombs has been reeling in McDonald over and Stephen Thompson in the background just went off track, possibly in that tough corner, maybe spun. See if we can get, yes, right here in Hugenholzbach, and just lights up those tires a little bit, too much heat on it, blows off the entire front wing with a relatively minor collision, as he has to wait for this entire field to go by, and that's going to be directly into the pits for him. Brad McCombs here, keeping it close to Jeff McDonald, 4/10 right now between the two. Further back, Garcia Vigil trying to recover from that lap 1 incident, and is close to Nürnberger, who also has to recover from a pit lane start. So these guys keeping it feisty earlier here in the back of this, and they're trying to get to that reverse grid section, which Garcia is just outside of right now, and Zach Nürnberger would be the reverse grid pole. So we'll see how that turns out as we get later into this race. But McCombs looking like one of the fastest guys on the track, qualified in 6th, up 2 positions now to 4th, and already trying to make another move here. He's got a huge overspeed, almost has to let off a little bit. I don't think Jeff McDonald can fight anything, as Brad McCombs is going to be ahead and on the inside of this tough corner here. Let's see, Jeff McDonald trying to switch back, and Brad McCombs seems to have done a pretty good job of sealing that off. That is going to be 3rd place for Brad McCombs in the B class. Strong defense for Jeff McDonald, but just nothing he could do with the pace there. There's a lockup as well. Didn't look like that was from Brad McCombs. It looked like that may have been from one of the drivers up front. Let's take a look again at that pass that Brad McCombs made on Jeff McDonald into Tarzanbach in turn 1.
Yeah, very strong move there. Brad is making his way up through the pack, and I think could have a shot at challenging the 2 leaders right now. He is flying.
Yeah, really impressive slide that he made through there. I mean, it just shows how on the edge he is, but fully in control. We haven't seen any lockups from him so far, I don't think. And just really whipping that car around this track, which is needed around a lot of these difficult corners.
Yeah, and it looks like Ken Huber is now starting to pull a gap on Paletti here, slowly but surely. Although Paletti looks to be strong in the second half of the lap, it's not enough to hang on to him, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, other than Steven Thompson, who we of course saw, by the way, Daniel Barnett.
Paletti's off. Paletti, big crash. Huge crash for Paletti.
See what happens here. This looks like it's in
Goes wide.
Yeah, and Kumho really wide and a little bit too confident, probably on getting it back on track there, and sends himself off a little bit wider, losing a couple spots.
Yeah, he's making it a tough challenge for him to go. I believe this would be his 6th or 7th race win in a row. He's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to keep that streak alive here.
Yeah, he has now lost 5 or so seconds. An incident further back with Garcia Vigil. This is, let's see, just behind this Christopher Newby, I believe, making the move. And, and that's...
Too much speed.
Oh, that was Nuremberger in the purple. I'm sorry. It was, yeah.
Yeah, a little too much speed to carry through there. And it just looks like a lot of these drivers are just on the edge right now. Thankfully, it's a wide track so that if you have an incident, you don't necessarily tear up the car too bad, but it costs you a lot of time.
You want to see Nuremberger's view from this incident here, how ridiculously close he got to this. I'm not sure if he was able to tell from his cockpit. Yeah, you can see just the shadow of Vigil's car barely missing Nuremberger, but lives to tell his tale, and he is currently in 10th, like I said, in that verse grid spot. And trying to get another spot there on James Foreman in front.
Oh, no, Brad McCombs! Oh, he hits the wall! That's going to knock his toe out a little bit. It was a light tap, but I think that's enough to do some damage to these cars, unfortunately.
It's looking a little bit slow, but it might just be a loss of confidence for these next couple corners if he doesn't have damage. But that's Nicholas Paletti there trying to reclaim that position. And Steve Cubet very close behind as well. If Brad McCombs really does have issues with this car, he may lose 2 positions here quickly. Nicholas Paletti through on the inside. Steve Cubet wants to follow. Block by Brad McCombs.
That was close. That was fantastic watching those guys go down into there. So let's get a replay here of Brad's incident. He just kind of loops it coming out of the corner there and lightly taps the wall. Don't think that'll be too much damage.
Yeah, he did hit rear first, which probably keeps him mostly safe as you see keeping up with Nicholas Paletti here. And
all over him again.
Yeah, keeping up is an understatement.
Pass through here, and he backs off and does the wise thing, because if you follow too close through there, that'll send you off the track.
Yeah, Shivlak, not exactly the biggest passing opportunity there. It's just a survival opportunity as you try to make your way through that giant downhill drop, and you lose a lot of grip with the tires. A little bit wide for Brad McCombs here in this turn 9-10, which is very difficult to find the right line. The track is so wide, and there's no good turning points.
I'll tell you, man, though, he is wheeling that car. Probably overheating the tires a little bit, but, man, that's fun to watch.
There's Newbie sending it on the inside. Looks like Foreman may be giving him that position a little bit, but still, brave move to make.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like Ken Huber has pulled out to about a 4-second lead over Jeff McDonald now, so things have kind of calmed up front. But third on back, it's anybody's race.
Yeah, Kevin Berquist has caught up to this group as well. For just 1 second there, he was sub 1 second. I mean, he still has John Kelly behind, who's fighting Richard Kerr. I mean, this whole field is quite close. I know it's a short track, a short lap, but still very difficult. You can see there, Brad McCombs, out wide, and Tarzan Buck. Is he going to avoid the wall? He does. He's going to be able to rejoin, but he's losing 3, 4, 5 positions down to 8th place for Brad McCombs.
I think his tires were already a little angry at him, and I don't think they had the grip when he went into that corner. They were just a little too hot, and unfortunately cost him quite a few spots. But if he can get the tires cooled, he can get back up there and get fighting with these guys again.
He wouldn't be the only one. We just saw right there, John Kelly, a pretty big lockup into Hugenholzbach, and that is going to hurt the tires, at least in the short term for tire temperature. Richard Curry has kept it close for these last couple laps here, and is trying to get the position.
Steve Cubey just went really wide through there. He's all right, though. Just lost a little bit of time to Paletti.
Yeah, was keeping it pretty close. It doesn't have to worry. It looks like Kevin Berquist has fallen back from Cubey a little bit this lap, even despite that incident there. Maybe looking a little bit more behind of these two.
Christopher Newby locks up. Oh, that's a full spin.
Stephen Thompson at the same time, was he involved in this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, Adrian just clobbered Christopher Newby. If we keep an eye on what happened to Christopher here, you'll see Adrian come into the frame here. And it's a race-ending crash for both of these drivers, unfortunately.
Oh, that is not a good idea by Newby there.
No, that was not. Oh, man. It was the two Castrol
cars. Yeah, the
cars.
Castrol teammates, unfortunately, impacting each other there. Steven Thompson at the same time must have been a different part of this track here. Same corner, he made him had a bit of a spin earlier, and it looks almost identical.
Got him again. Yeah, got him again, unfortunately. Gotta say, I don't mean to laugh, but it's quite humorous watching the 115 car.
Oh, and that's a wide for Berquist there as he's going to lose position. Oh, my goodness, that was so close. Richard Curry surviving by the skin of his teeth. He was hoping to get that position from Kelly as Kelly had locked up into that corner for a second time in a row, and he's just lucky to have survived that incident. Berquist himself also.
We almost had another Castrol car die there. This is not a good look for the Castrol cars.
Yes, that was a very dangerous, or it was just a very hectic there. Crazy that Richard Curry was able to escape from that alive. But lives to tell's tale. Cubey here now trying to get that position on him. And Cubey, of course, trying to claw back some spots here. Is down 3 from where he started in 5th, and certainly has had really good pace.
It seems like John Kelly and Richard Curry have benefited the most from a lot of these drivers' incidents, up 8 and 6 spots respectively. That is no small feat at a track like this.
Curry trying to make it 7 apiece for each of them as he sends it on the inside here. He's already trying to make the pass. They're not even on the straight yet. And he's actually lost a little bit of advantage. It's going to be tough. It's going to be side by side, wheel to wheel down here into turn 1. Richard Curry sends it deeper on the brakes. And John Kelly is not going to have any gap to make the switchback. That's going to be the spot for Richard Curry. Now both drivers up 7 spots from their starting spots.
Oh, here comes Brad. Brad's got a huge run. He had to check up there, or he would have.
And lock up again by Kelly.
Contact, and that's damage for Brad. Oh, there was just a lot going on there, and Brad did his best to try to stay off him. He just had such a full head of steam and sent his car around. Oh, and Adrian gets into it too now. Oh.
Yeah, 3 laps in a row that Kelly's locked up in that corner. Brad McCombs not expecting it. Couldn't get on the brakes enough to save himself. Berquist, Cubey, Nuremberger making it through safely there. Brad doesn't rejoin the track yet.
Looks like Adrian just lost it on his own through that
corner. Yeah, you can hear it.
That corner's just been brutal.
Meanwhile, right then, we also saw James Foreman here. I don't know if, I think this may be involved with Vahil's incident. So Vahil loses it, just like we saw Thompson earlier. Foreman, very smart to avoid it, but does have to come to a complete stop to avoid any sort of a collision there. And Brad McCombs getting going again as well.
Yeah, Foreman being smart there not to pick up any incident points. He's still at 0, which is very important for the points, and he's in the 10th spot. So, honestly, he can hold on to that. He'll transfer to pole next race.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 25 seconds behind to Thompson as the bottom 4 drivers right now have all had some pretty big incidents. Zach Nuremberger here trying to get the spot on Berquist, sends it down the inside. Berquist not fighting it too hard. Again, Nuremberger having to start this race in last place, and it's just now starting to really make up those positions.
I'll tell you who's making up time here. Paletti is on the back of Jeff McDonald, and I think that's just on pace. Paletti was 2 seconds quicker than McDonald last lap.
Yeah, this may be a good section of the race for Paletti. A lot of the drivers slowing down. I mean, their best laps.
Oh, no, Ken Huber! Ken Huber, the leader, has been crashed.
As we can see, McDonald slides through in the first place. Paletti through. Look, Curry is not going to be able to get a spot here as Ken Huber gets going. But Jeff McDonald, new leader of this race with Nicholas Paletti close in tow. What a difference just a few laps makes after we just talked about how unlikely it was going to be for him to try to repeat another win. Well, now he's just got 6/10 to try to do that, but Jeff McDonald's going to put up plenty of a fight.
Yeah, man, I don't know what happened there with Ken Huber. I think it was lap traffic that unfortunately got into him there and cost him that lead. We'll see if he can bounce back. It's only 3 seconds. They got a pit stop coming up.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was just trying to see if we could find earlier back the incident. Wasn't able to find it there, but yeah, Ken Huber, unfortunate mistake, but does not get him any damage. And there's still, I mean, this is a short track, so there's a lot of laps here. We still got 22 laps to go in this race. We're only 12 laps in, so plenty of time to make up any mistake. He's not that far back. You can see him on the back of the screen there.
Oh yeah, and Paletti continues to, wow, just put in these blistering lap times here.
Yeah, Paletti was actually a little bit slower on that previous lap, so McDonald maybe answering to that freedom that he's got in front of him now, being in first place, maybe a little bit of a a motivation to kick up the pace. It's certainly been close between these two, but still Paletti hasn't been able to make a worthwhile attack so far.
Yep, and Paletti trying to go for 7 in a row heat wins here, which is just incredible. The only 2 he hasn't won this season were both at Silverstones, and he almost won the one until Zach Nurnberg got him on the final lap. So trying to make as much of a perfect season as possible, trying to repeat what Dennis and Terry have tried to do in the past in Ivore.
Yeah, it would be a very impressive result here. If he's able to get another win, it's going to be difficult, and even if he does get the win here, it would be starting from the back of the field in that second heat. And this has been a dangerous track to make passes and to get through the field. We haven't seen anybody really flying through it outside of Curry and Kelly. So it may not, even if this is a good result, even if he's able to get a win here, the streak may end in the sprint race.
I'll tell you though, looking at last lap time. Well, that's a tongue twister. Ken Huber, quickest of the top 3, 2 tenths quicker than Paletti, and Paletti a few tenths quicker than Jeff. So we could very much have the top 3 here, come together here in these next few laps.
Yeah, only 3 seconds back for Ken Huber there. Certainly doable for him to catch up. Looks like we have an incident here further back in the field with Chris Newby. He is not on the same lap as these drivers around him, going out wide in Kumo, just like we saw Nicholas Paletti also miraculously avoiding the wall. So the sand traps doing their job.
Yeah, I swear, I feel like I'm watching a Pro 4 truck race here tonight, seeing some of those cars get air going off in that last corner. It's really cool to see, but probably not so good for their suspensions.
Nurnberger's last lap there was a personal best of a 135, so he's certainly turned on the burners here as those tires are really starting to get into their perfect window. These are pretty hard to compound tires, so they last a long time and can have pace for a really long time as the fuel starts to burn out of this car.
Oh no, Jeff McDonald, he just did a Pro 4 truck. Oh, that's going to be a big crash. He is out of the lead. Major damage to the car there.
Same thing we just saw from Christopher Newby out wide in Kumo, hitting the wall this time, though. Not going to collect anyone else as he's so far out, but that is a tow. The driver's wheel is off, and yeah, I don't think he realizes it yet, but he's surely going to have to tow to the pits.
He's trying still to get back, but at this point, cut your losses and just tow.
Yeah, it's going to be the same weight regardless. So Jeff McDonald there, an unfortunate result from the lead. Now Nicholas Paletti, against all odds, is now the leader. That lead, though, or the gap that he had to Ken Huber behind has dropped down to 2 seconds, though.
It's continuing to shrink, and I wonder if Ken's going to pull some kind of strategy here to maybe get him in the pits, just because it is kind of hard to pass out there.
Not only is it hard to pass, it's also hard to make it into the pits in this track. It's a difficult pit entry, a little bit of a dangerous one. It's immediately off the racing line and hard to really keep a lot of speed. So, yeah, I mean, if these guys are only going to be separated by a matter of tenths, that really can get made up in one of these pit stops.
Got to give Jeff McDonald credit. He has somehow managed to limp that beaten F3 car back to the pits, that Ninja Botanicals car.
I don't understand how he got it turned.
I don't either. The thing is literally crab walking on him, but kudos to him to do that. We'll see if he can get back out there and contend for that 10th position that Steven Thompson currently has.
Yeah, of course, a lot of these guys making pits due to damage. I don't know where, I mean, Thompson's pit came pretty early, so I imagine he's out of the strategy, but Jeff McDonald should be on strategy here.
Yeah, Jeff McDonald comes right out of the pits about 2 seconds in front of Paletti, and now Jeff's going to be on cold tires here, so he might hold Paletti up a little bit.
We'll see what the interaction is here as Paletti continues to bleed just a little bit of time to Ken Huber behind a lockup there in Hugenholzbach, as we've seen many drivers do, and it has caused incidents, a lot of incidents on the exit of that corner so far.
Yeah, I did not expect that corner to be the hotbed of incidents. I mean, that and the last corner are the two that seem to be the real issue. And he is closing quick on Jeff McDonald here. He's getting held up a little bit.
Sending it on, he doesn't know where to put it. Steve Cube had so much pace coming out of Hugenholz, and then just down that twisty bit, there's just no passing opportunity because John Kelly's all over the track as he follows the racing line. and passing on the left, passing on the right. There's just no space for Cube, and he's going to have to wait for a better opportunity potentially after this turn 9-10 complex down in the Hans Ernstbach, and may be able to make the move, but Zach Turnberger is actually pressuring him more from behind now.
Yeah, strong run from Zach to come from the very shotgun of the grid and be right in the contention here.
No one trying to make a move here, or very close between Nuremberger. Looked very powerful on the brakes. No lockups there, and definitely got to slow down the most out of this group of three that we see here.
It's fascinating to see how different, like more so than any track we've seen this season, how different everyone takes the braking zones at this track and the throttle inputs. As we see, Ken Huber has cut it down to less than a second now between him and Paletti.
Cube looking like he's sizing up a move. He's going to make the move on John Kelly. He's already ahead on the inside, and John Kelly hits that curb, unable to make that move happen. May lose a spot to Nuremberger as he loses a little bit of momentum. It looks like he's going to be able to keep that position safe. See as they come out of this corner, another lockup. I don't know if he knows that he's locking up so much into this corner, but it is giving him difficulties. He still keeps that position, though.
I'm sure his tires are crying for mercy right now. That's a really long lockup. Thankfully, iRacing's tire modeling does not fully reflect a full-on lockup, which is good for him, but definitely still adding heat each time he does that.
Yeah, if flat spotting was the thing, a lot of these guys, their races would already be over.
Flying in the air like a freaking top. What just happened?
Rear wing off the car. Let's see if we can figure out what happened in this incident.
Man, I don't know.
A little bit deep.
What on earth?
So Jeff McDonald trying to let guys go by. Just a miscommunication, I think, with the speed difference there in the middle of the corner.
Jeff just had that Sergio Perez kind of crash at Hungary, where he just barely clipped the grass and then was coming back on, and unfortunately was right in the way there for the driver.
Ken Huber for a little bit there had it sub 1 second, but Paletti has certainly responded with a 1:29.9, nearly the fastest lap that he's had in this race so far. John Kelly coming into the pits. I don't know if he had any damage, but we are in that pit window, so this just, I mean, we're halfway through the race, so this is probably his strategy. Surprisingly, the first guy to come in, though.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more of that now. I think it can. I mean, the thing is, no one wants to be the first to pit, because you see what happened to Jeff McDonald. Jeff was out there on those cold tires, and they just don't have the grip. But you need to be pushing right now to get the time. So I have a feeling it's just going to be a game of chicken. Everyone's going to try to stay out as long as they can on these warm tires.
Newbie here having an incident here in 11th place.
It's gonna be it's that corner again.
Corner of death for these guys. I wonder if this will, this race, the experience that pretty much all these drivers are having, if that's going to change at all how they attack the corner, especially in the early laps in the sprint race, as they, maybe lick their wounds and learn from some of their mistakes, because no one's really been able to get through that corner mistake-free throughout this whole race so far. Only 17 laps in.
Tell you what's crazy. I mean, out of every race we've run this season, there's only one car out, which is incredible considering how dangerous and how many incidents we've had this race. So kudos to all those drivers for sticking it out there and continuing to race.
So we had about a second gap between Paletti and Huber, as Huber then comes into the pits, makes his pit stop, and we'll see what that does to Paletti. If Paletti wants to take it to the end, he can even lock up there on that front left, as many other drivers have had. Not as much as some others, but still getting one.
Interesting strategy. We want to keep an eye on Paletti when he comes in. Ken Huber, no tires, leaves the tires he has currently on.
Yeah, that does not surprise me, seeing some of these reactions from the cold tires on these corners. It just looks just too much to handle, and if you're able to maintain the tire wear, which maybe Ken Huber's been able to do so, he did have that spin, he may be able to keep this going to the end. It'll save him a little bit of time on the stop for sure, but it may be more just about the safer tires to have on the car.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to mitigate risk here. And interestingly, Steve Cube, who was just in for that major crash, has still got that 10th spot. So he could be sitting really well for this next race here. I think there's going to be a lot of fast guys starting up front just because of all the incidents that have happened.
Yeah, we have 9th place back. Have all had at least some pretty big incident happen to them. Certainly, that's what's keeping guys like Jeff McDonald in there. Jeff McDonald only 4.5 seconds back. Like, so Paletti there responding to the pit stop of Huber, trying to defend an undercut. We'll see if that one lap really makes a difference, as he seemed to make it in pretty clean into his pits there.
Yep, and here comes Curry as well in third. So this will be interesting to see what these guys do here, if any of them do decide to take tires.
And Nürnberger into the pits back there as well. So a lot of the field coming in. Some guys have not come in. Ken Huber there. Let's see how that's going to compare. Ken Huber is going to be behind as Paletti gets it going
tires. Again. He's got warmer tires, and one thing to note, Paletti no tires, but Curry in third did take tires, so something to keep an eye on the rest of this race.
Yeah, Curry's had a really great race so far, up 8, started in 11th, and is now in third place even after these pit stops here.
Yeah, phenomenal drive from him. Very impressed here. If he can finish it off, that'll be a really solid thing for him in the points.
So Ken Huber maybe caught up a couple tenths in that undercut. Nothing major. Wasn't able to make the pass through the pits, but maybe helped a little bit. He's just a little bit closer to the gearbox of Nicholas Paletti there, but it's still gonna have to do a lot of work to make a move stick.
Yeah, I think Paletti's getting to that point in the race where he's feeling quite comfortable. I think that incident earlier just caught him by surprise, as we see James Foreman had a little bit of an incident here. Goes a little wide.
And that was actually in Gerlach box the turn before the one that's been giving a lot of people troubles. He's unfortunately completely backwards, and is going to have to, that's a nice little half spin that he did to get it turned around. Lost as little time as possible, really, other than that one spot to Thompson, which is important because he's in that top 10, and he does not want to have a bigger incident than that and get out of that reverse grid.
Yeah, and I mean, we got a great battle here for the lead between Paletti and Huber, and then right in front of them, which could play a role, McDonald and Cube are fighting over that last spot in the inversion. 1.5 seconds separate them, so a lot of battles here to keep an eye on as this race winds down.
Yeah, two drivers who have been up close to the front of the field as well. Incident for Stephen Thompson coming through turn 9 and 10, it looks like.
Just loops on him again.
Able to get going, no damage to the car. Ken Huber now down to a half second for the lead. Nürnberger also catching up to Richard Curry, who went for those new tires and potentially not paying off for him, at least early in this second half of this race. This is the second stint. The tires may be giving him troubles as Nürnberger continues to catch up to him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if as this race winds down, that'll come back to him, but he's going to have his hands full trying to hold off Nürnberger here.
Yeah, fastest laps between these two, very similar, have similar pace at their peak, but it does look like the new tires are hurting Richard Curry here a little bit. Now that position there, that's number 84 behind, and that is not for that's not on the same lap as Zach Nürnberger there. That's Adrian Garcia-Vigil, who is a lap down.
Huber got a really good run off the corner. He's not going to be close enough yet to make a move, but I think he's setting himself up for the next lap to put a move on him.
Very fast laps by both guys. 129.9 for Paletti and 129.8 flat for Ken Huber, as these guys continue to put in steaming hot laps here, 21 laps into the race.
Ooh, wow, Paletti is pushing everything right now. He just drove that car through there hard. Oh, and Huber gets loose.
Yeah, hard to tell from that angle that we saw there. You can see he lost that time, though. Had brought it down to sub 4 tenths. Grows that back out to where it was a couple laps ago at 7 tenths now.
Yeah, I think that's just lack of downforce there coming off of that corner. Unfortunate. Oh, I'm just seeing a lot of drivers just go off in that last corner there and just dirt track.
That's a driver off there is Jeff McDonald, as he was fighting for Steve Cube. I was going to mention how he had lost time to Steve Cube. He's lost a lot of time.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Let's see if this here will show it as he came down into Masters. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. These curbs are killing these cars.
Yeah, real airtime on that car there. Pretty fantastic replay. Doesn't look to really have. He's into the pit, so maybe has some floor damage that we don't see there. Brad McCombs, though, trying to make a move here on Kevin Berquist as he disappears from our screen. And this would be to move him into 5th, where he started in the 6th, so he would be gaining a position from where he started, despite some early incidents that we've already seen. Very strong on the brakes, but couldn't make the move there. Just looks like a matter of time here as Kevin Berquist fights to keep him behind.
Yeah, it just got to bide his time here. He'll have a run possibly going down the straightaway here if he can get off this last corner pretty well.
You can see the lines left by drivers going out wide there in Kumo, and luckily Brad able to keep it in the lines there.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's just making a campaign here tonight to bring Pro 4 trucks back to the league, so which would be great. But anyway, we see Brad McCombs here really closing that gap down here, and he's just got to wait until he gets a passing opportunity.
Yeah, sometimes can be difficult to be patient as both drivers lock up. Got very close for McCombs. Berquist lock up in front, McCombs lock up behind, but he's got a bit of a run here as Berquist went a little wide. McCombs trying to make the pass. Berquist not fighting that too much. He does not want to go side by side through Shivelac here.
Smart move by Berquist there. Knows that Brad has the overspeed, just kind of yields to him there.
As the gap for Huber and Paletti has grown a little bit more, and Huber is trying to cut into that now. Nürnberger now the closest man on track to the guy in front of him. Has been chasing down Richard Curry for a bit. It looked like Curry's new tires were paying him a disservice, and it seems like maybe that's evened out a little bit. You can see on the last lap that Curry was only 400 slower than Nürnberger as they've started to even up, but this has been a good lap for Nürnberger so far.
Yeah, excellent lap by Nürnberger. These guys are just right on the edge. Any little error right now will just send them off the track, and I'll tell you, Nürnberger is driving the wheels.
Gonna make the attack here as Curry had to struggle to keep it in the track, and he forces him on the inside. Nürnberger wants the inside. That's the preferred line for the pass. He's not quite ahead yet, but he's gonna take the lead here ahead and into that podium spot of 3rd place. Richard Curry can do nothing to fight back in the next couple corners here.
That is amazing that they did not make any contact there. That was close on many occasions, but good defensive driving on his part. As we looks like Jeff McDonald and Adrian Garcia have both put their cars on the hauler for the night.
Yeah, smart defense, as you said there, for Curry, as he made Zach Nürnberger make the decision if he really wanted to go all the way inside or take the unwanted outside line. And unfortunately wasn't able to keep the position. Did everything he could, though, given the run that Nürnberger behind had.
Absolutely. And Paletti is just continuing to just put in the work up front and slowly continuing to inch that gap out over Ken Huber.
Yeah, we're closing in on about 10 laps to go as they're on lap 23 of 34. So we're not too far from that single-digit mark, and Nicholas Paletti, as he continues to pull the gap away, will start to just feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more comfortable as he gets closer to the finish. Again, the second race, even if he does win this, is going to still be plenty of a challenge for him.
Yeah. I mean, you see, the biggest gain of any driver here tonight in this first race was 7 positions on Richard Curry. So that will be no small task for Paletti if he has to come from 10th next race, especially with as many fast drivers as he'll have to come through. Oh, Richard Curry. Oh, that's a heartbreak for him. Oh, and his car goes airborne. That is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. When he went to rejoin, I think the curb launched his car there.
Yeah, let's see if we can figure out the initial incident here. So this was him losing control here in the Tarzan box. We honestly haven't seen too many incidents, but I think it was just some aero wash from the close car of Nürnberger in front. He's completely backwards, tries to get it turned around, and yeah, the very heavy, very tall curbs here unfortunately delays his ability to rejoin the track, and he loses a couple more positions. So still up from where he started, up 5 spots into 6th place. Unfortunately, not as high as he was just a couple laps ago, but still has been a good result for him. And actually, a lot of the guys around him have done well to avoid incidents and major incidents and make their way up. As you see, Foreman up 6, Kelly, Richard Curry, and Kevin Berquist and Zach Nürnberger all up 5 spots as well.
I saw a major incident, but I can't find it now. But anyway, we're keeping our eye up front. Huber last lap, 2/10 quicker than Paletti, so slowly drilling that gap back down as we see something has happened. Yeah, something did happen to Brad McCombs. What's going on? But he's losing time.
Well, went wide in Kumho here. Barely able to keep it out of the wall there. A little bit of drifting as he makes his way through the dirt, rejoins the track behind Bergquist.
Yeah, so Bergquist sneakily up into fourth. Kevin's really good at, just putting a solid race together. Doesn't have a lot of major incidents and can always find himself towards the top at the end of these O4A and E4A races. So good run again for him.
Yeah, Bergquist right now is the 8th place overall driver and the 3rd place in the B class. And he, at least from this race here, he's obviously going to make some inroads on Steven Thompson, who's only got 8 points advantage on him for 2nd place in that B class.
And, of course, John Kelly in 4th in the B class, also trying to make headway. Fortunately, down in 7th right now. Not going to gain a ton in this race.
Yeah, he's very close to Bergquist, just a couple points behind. Actually, coming into this race, Kelly, Garcia, and Bergquist on the overall standings, all separated by just 2 points. And they've had a massive difference in results here. As you can see, Bergquist has had a great race. He's up in 4th. Kelly's there in the middle of the field in 7th. And unfortunately, Garcia's had a number of incidents and has parked the car. He's down in 12th. Some other close battles that we have is that Richard Curry, Steven Thompson, and Chris Newby were all within 3 points. Curry and Thompson actually tied at 124. And obviously, you can see there, of those 3 drivers, that Richard Curry coming out the best, Steven Thompson there in 9th, and Newby in 11th. But just Newby crossing his fingers and praying for an incident for a guy in front so that he can get that reverse grid pole for next race.
He's at the right track for that because, I mean, that could definitely happen here before this thing winds down.
Yeah, it doesn't have to worry about anything behind as the 3 drivers behind have all parked it and probably will not anticipate on seeing the next race. But Ken Huber here is the closest man on track to his competitor. He's here, just brought it down to 6/10. It seemed like it was slipping out of his fingers a few laps ago, but he has turned it back on and has started to catch up. Paletti finally, for the first time in a while, with a faster sector, but only by 4 thousandths.
I was going to say, Paletti's having a very scruffy lap here. And I don't know if that's just because he's overheated his tires and Ken's been saving him or what, but Ken is kind of right back down to the gap he had before his little scary moment there. But it's got it down to half a second. Yeah. So, I mean, he's ready to pounce. I think he's got to be smart. He's got 7 laps to go. He doesn't want to push the issue too much, but he needs to stay in this tow here. And the fact that they're coming up on Steve Cube here, that's kind of a wild card because it's lap traffic, and lap traffic has not been kind to the leaders tonight.
Some smoke lingering possibly from Cube's car there. Luckily, though, Cube not closely battling with another driver, so it won't be extremely difficult for these guys to make their way through without really getting affected too much. But just 2 tenths now separating them, 3 tenths, and that was a purple sector too as Ken Huber uses that tow to his advantage. Unfortunately, that's the least passing opportunity on this entire track. So you got to be faster elsewhere, but he had a personal best in Sector 1 as well. So he has absolutely set the sights on Paletti's car there as he's finally made his way up and is just a few tenths away from being able to make a move.
Yeah, I think we might see a move here. Depending on how these last few corners go, we might see a move here going down into turn 1, Tarzan. So keep an eye on that.
Brian McCombs very close to Kevin Bergquist as well. I can't believe that. I mean, we saw Bergquist fly by in turn 1. It just goes to show the pace potential that Brad McCombs has there, despite the off track he had there, right as we see in Kumo.
All over Bergquist here. He is just ready to make a move. And Bergquist goes wide. That's going to give it to him.
Yeah, wide for Bergquist. Keeps it on track, but no defense that he's going to be able to put up. And Curry not that far back behind that as well.
Oh, no, incident for Steven Thompson, and the leaders are coming up on him.
This is into Hugenholzbach, as has been the case for him a couple times earlier, as well as a couple other drivers. Gets it going. I think he's probably going to keep it off the rate. Well, he's able to get back the drivers behind him, not that close. I don't know if it affected them.
No, he has a little bit of damage, so I'm wondering if, as this race winds down, they'll close down on him. Cube trying to close on him for 9th, but Huber, again, all over Paletti, just keeping the pressure on him.
Yeah, Curry has now brought it down to a 2nd to Kevin Bergquist in front as well. But Huber still not having made a move for position. But yeah, as you said, that Cube up there not fighting for the reverse grid pole as far as, like, it's not 11th, 10th, so it's not as hectic as that, but it is still a position that Cube is trying to get on Thompson there between the 9th and 10th spots.
And the closer they get, the more of an impact arrow that's going to have on Paletti here. So Paletti, I think, is just kind of hoping and praying right now that Cube keeps the gap that they have currently. And Cube is very quick here, so I don't think he has to worry too much about that.
Yeah, I don't in general envy Paletti's position here. You feel much safer when you got all this free open track in front of you. May feel a little bit boxed in here as he even breaks the toe heading down the straight, although Ken Huber not keen to try to pick that up, as I don't think he was trying to make the move. Still has 6 laps to do so, and certainly is going to have an opportunity at some point in these next few if he keeps it clean. And a lockup by Paletti, no lockup for Huber. Let's see how he does in the series. Keeps it going straight. This is a big run, but there's no way to get around here.
Yeah, Paletti has a thing for these, winding down end of the race battles with other drivers this season, primarily with Zach Nurenberger, but now this time with Ken Huber. And I think Ken is just a little bit stronger right now, not locking up the tires, just taking care of his car, and I think he's just kind of waiting for a mistake from Paletti here.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of close finishes with Paletti in the first couple rounds, although the last couple have been pretty dominant for him, as he's won all the last, he's won the last 7, but the last 4 specifically won pretty handily. And if he wins this one, it's going to be a lot more of a nail biter, I think, than his last couple have been. But we haven't really been able to see Ken Huber get a full race in, or really.
No, I have a feeling this is like his first complete race, which is crazy to think about, considering how many poles he has on the season, and how many, just how quick he's been.
Yeah, I mean, I know Silverstone had a crash early. Red Bull Ring he disconnected. Monza didn't take the start, and Spa was, I don't know what happened in Spa, but it was also a bad result. We haven't really been able to see him come out here and show his real pace here at the front of the field, despite having, I think, a couple poles on the season already. Lockup there for Paletti. Not the only guy to do it, but Huber not getting that lockup in Hugenholzbach, and maybe keeping the tires a little bit fresher, but the time to act is slowly coming upon us, as we're now on lap 30 of 34, so if he's planning something, he's got to be setting it up pretty soon.
I'll tell you, Paletti, man, he just put a monster of a lap in there. Quickest lap of the race of 4.68, 129.468, 4/10 quicker than Huber, but this lap, Huber's coming right back to him.
Yeah, very strong showing, and Huber behind just he was still at 129.8. Only 4 drivers. Only 2 other drivers I think out there right now even able to put in pace like that. And it's guys putting in the high 29s.
Yeah,
certainly not reaching what Paletti's doing.
You got McCombs, who's running 29s, and then Stephen Thompson and Cube in 9th and 10th are the only other 2 drivers out there running 29s. Those guys are quick, so look for them to be strong in the second race starting up front.
As Huber's trying to catch here for the win, Curry has been very close to Bergquist, and it looks like actually there, just on that right when I switch over to him, loses a little bit of time. Make sure nothing's happening here at this battle for Huber and Paletti, as this could light off at any point. But again, that was the best passing opportunity we've seen on the track so far, and it looks like Paletti has that final corner of Arie Luyendyk, but it looks like he's got that pretty nailed down as Curry makes the move on Kevin Bergquist. All over the curb, and yeah, Bergquist just giving him the room.
Bergquist has been racing really smart here, knowing that when a driver, has got pretty much the move done, he doesn't fight him, which I think is what's keeping him up so high in the order. He's just keeping his car clean, which is great. Good on him. But Huber, he just looks a lot more confident on the brakes right now. Now, Paletti's getting the run off of these corners, but Paletti's also locking his brakes up a lot. So this could get really interesting as they continue to get closer now, less than a second behind Cube now, and that is going to have some kind of aero impact on Paletti here.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder, though, when you see where Paletti is hitting the apexes, right, where he's getting the exits, a lot of times it's before the passing opportunities. So, even if Can Huber even have an opportunity here unless Paletti makes a mistake? Because it looks like Paletti's staying fast in the right parts of the track, and Huber's actually falling off a lot in this lap. Not sure what's happened. Maybe the toe that he's got from Cube in front has actually helped him.
Oh, that's definitely helping Paletti, but I think Huber just had a rough sector 3 there, so we'll see if he can bounce back here. But we'll see what Cube decides to do with the leaders here, if he'll let them go or continue racing. Ooh, that was a lot of aero push there for Paletti.
Yeah, a bit of a lockup as he heads through there. It doesn't seem to slow him down too much, and now Cube maybe getting close enough to where it's no longer a benefit, and it's actually starting to affect him in the corners and a little bit of aero wash. But Huber is now 7/10 back. What seemed like was going to be potentially a scrap here at the end. 8/10 when you've got Paletti there, that might be difficult to make up in just a couple more laps. We're halfway through this one. It's going to be 2 to go.
Yeah, he's running out of time. I mean, it's going to almost take some kind of mistake now from Paletti, I think, to have an opportunity to get around him. So if Paletti can just keep it clean here these last 2 laps, I think he's going to be in good shape.
Well, and keep in mind, too, that the best passing opportunity on this track is into turn 1. And that means that it can't be done on the last lap. It's got to be done on the second to last lap if you're going to make that move. On the last lap, you're crossing the finish line, so you don't have that chance to make that pass as they're coming up to it now through the final corner of Arie Luyendyk. And this has been the most popular passing opportunity so far in this race. Steve Cube, I think, getting out of the way of these drivers. But I mean, if Huber's not able to get by in this section right here in 1 lap time, when is he going to be able to?
Yeah, it's not going to happen unless, like I said, Paletti makes some kind of mistake here. So I think Paletti's just kind of riding here. I think he's content. They pretty much mirrored each other last lap with their lap times. So it's looking pretty good for both of them. I mean, looking good for Paletti to, I think, hold on to this here. Although, again, as he gets closer to Cube, what's going to happen? Or is something unpredictable going to happen that he doesn't expect with his car? And is that going to cause him issues?
Yeah, we've seen a couple guys in this race and previously in the season as well lose control of the car when they get real close to a guy in front and get that aero wash, just lose a little bit of air under that front bumper. So, I think that might be Ken Huber's only hope here outside of something pretty chaotic. So, Nicholas Paletti just needs to survive as they're now coming down into Hans Erzbach. This will probably be the last passing opportunity on the next lap for Ken Huber, and it's almost a second between the two. It's been a strong race for Huber. I don't think that there's going to be the opportunity to be a whole second faster than Nicholas Paletti here on the final lap as he comes through Kumo and Arie Luyendyk. And he's going to take the white flag here, Nicholas Paletti, and try to take it to a 8th win in a row. 1 lap to go, 4 kilometers.
This will actually be, I believe, his 7th, I think, since he's won the last 3 races, all 3 races, or 2 races in them. So I think this will be 7. But I think Ken Huber's going to be kicking himself here a little bit just because of what happened with that lap car when he had that decent-sized lead on Paletti. As we see, Richard Curry may have had an incident here.
This looks like in turn 9-10, right where he passed Kevin Berquist, ironically enough, and Berquist gets the spot back.
Nice donut there to get it turned around, but
he's done a couple nice half spins that he's had in this race, saving himself a lot of time doing so.
Yeah, I need to take some lessons from him.
Nicholas Paletti leading them through Mastersbach, now turn 9. Into turn 10, and this is really the last chance for Ken Huber if he had a mega exit here and Paletti makes a mistake, but it looks like Paletti's clean as he's going to head into the last hard braking zone of this track, and Hans Ernst, see how he handles it, and he's just going to have a couple more corners to go if he makes it through clean through that, through both the curbs there. Those are pretty soft curbs there. And just 2 turns to go, and that is going to be another victory for Nicholas Paletti. Ken Huber, 6/10 back, 7/10 back. Not close enough to make the move, but close enough to really wish he could have, because it has been a hard fight up front for both of these guys. Nicholas Paletti comes across as the victor for the feature race. Ken Huber, half a second behind in second.
Yeah, kudos to Paletti there. Good job, but Ken was coming strong there through that last corner. It would have been interesting to see them go one more lap.
Stephen Thompson, in ninth place, trying to get up to eighth. They're just started the final lap as they were just a little bit ahead of Paletti and Huber there. Still no other drivers finished the race, just to go to show how dominant those top two have been. Zach Nurnberger 30 seconds back in third place, however, ANRB class winner coming across the line just 1.4 seconds ahead of Brad McCombs.
Yeah, solid bounce back for Brad McCombs there to get him back to fourth after his couple incidents this race.
Yeah, came close to getting up to that third place spot as well with a personal best on that final lap. Stephen Thompson, don't think he's going to have the opportunity to make the move here. Was close at the start of this lap, but James Foreman responding well. Richard Curry crosses the line as third in the A class, sixth overall. A lot of B class drivers really mixing it up after those top two guys. And Stephen Thompson is really trying to fight in this B class championship as well, as he's currently in second and has a lot of competition from behind with a good finish from Kevin Berquist. Stephen Thompson has the run, but it's not going to do enough for him here as they come to the line. James Foreman ahead in 8th, and Stephen Thompson in 9th. Steve Cubey behind them in 10th. And last driver on track is Christopher Newby, who will come across the line in 11th place. Unfortunately, first man out of that reverse grid selection.
Yeah, but, I mean, anything's on the cards. I mean, look at Zach Nurnberger. Started shotgunning on the field, made it up to third. And I don't think we saw Zach get in really any major incidents this race. He kept his nose clean. So if Christopher Newby can keep his nose clean in this next race, he could be up there.
We will be back in just a few minutes as we get ready for this exciting sprint. We will see you in just a couple minutes. All right, we are back. And as you can see there, Steve Cubay will be our reverse grid pole sitter, and he will be leading this field from the front as Steven Thompson will line up beside him, and Nicholas Paletti will be back there in 10th, trying to get yet another win in a row, but a big ask. We did not have a red flag in the first heat here, despite this being such a difficult and treacherous track, and that's now actually 2 heats in a row, so hoping that we don't get one here, but it is definitely going to be difficult to do so.
Yeah, good to see Adrian Garcia back on the grid. He had retired from the first race, but has come back to run the second one, so excited to see what he can do because he is quick.
Yeah, still missing McDonald and Barnett, unfortunately. Shorter gridding procedure here for the sprint race as it is up in 2 seconds. Steve Cubay here will lead the field into turn 1 as we get waiting for the red lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, waiting on them to drop for the green. And it's go. Great start for Cubay up front. Steven Thompson, good start as well. Both 2 pull ahead. James Foreman, a little bit slow, but a good second phase of the start. Steven Thompson may be able to take the lead, not able to do so. Pretty deep for Cubay. Thompson fighting back side by side. He's going to be pushing this. Brad McCombs narrowly avoiding the sand back there. John Kelly on the outside. And Steven Thompson unable to take that spot and is going to be in second place. Brad McCombs losing many spots in the back of the field there. Oh, I hear that's going to be a red flag, I imagine.
Huge pile up. It just all started with that chain reaction of that 3 wide coming out of the first turn, and it was just on from there.
Yeah, Brad McCombs was going off regardless, but then also made contact with another driver. And, yeah, that's a...
Oh, man. I see a car flying there. Was that Ken Huber that got launched?
Let's see, that is a Huber there in the 7-Up car. Does a good job to avoid that, but does get clipped by Vihil, both crashing into the wall.
Hey, at least we can say we made it through the first race without a lap 1 incident. I mean, that was good. And these guys, I think there's a little bit more to lose here because there's drivers starting a little bit out of position. There's a lot more to gain and lose, so drivers are going to push the envelope. But looks like Ken Huber was the only driver that had to tow back to the pits. Everyone else is going to limp back around. So we'll have about a 2 or 3 minute waiting period here as we wait for the drivers to get resituated. But a very strong start by Steve Cubay. It looked like Thompson was maybe going to have a challenge on him in turn 1, but Cubay just went really deep on the brakes.
On board with Ken Huber as he saw this incident, sees the car coming across, slows down plenty, does not realize, I think, Vihil on the outside, and yeah, you can't even see him in the screen.
Yeah, he's trying to avoid the one Castrol car that went off and then got into another one, so these guys are everywhere.
Vihil's point of view in this incident, and he just tries to keep it all the way on the outside. So much, everyone checking up because of that incident, and the first phase of that was handled well, and then unfortunately just didn't realize the cars around them at that time.
And that happens. I mean, everyone was vying for positions there. We had a 3 wide in turn 1. It was nuts, but it was exciting to watch.
Here, this was Steve Cubay's start off the line. Really good start for Steven Thompson. That's why he was able to challenge into turn 1. Wasn't able to quite get that position, but those 2 pulled away from Foreman, who did as well himself. It was John Kelly back there, almost losing the spot as they go 3 wide through Tarzan Bach, and that has certainly set off some of the fireworks that ended up happening here in a couple corners. Oh, it looked like Foreman just a little bit slow there. In Gerlach-Bach, and I think it took which would that be the newbie by surprise, or not? There's too many of the Castrol cars. That was that wasn't Vihil, and it wasn't newbie, right?
That was Curry, I believe.
Okay, yes, that got me all kinds of confused. It looks like Curry probably just taken a little bit by surprise at Foreman taking a little bit easy through there in Gerlach-Bach, and that's really kind of what set everything off, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to know if those guys all were like in agreement to running these Castrol cars just to confuse us, because they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I haven't super investigated to see if maybe they've given us a clue to differentiate the different ones, like maybe a different colored, wing or something, but I think that they're the same, so unfortunately making it quite difficult on us. They're now pulling their way out of the pits. So again, Steve Cubey will be able to lead the field on the restart, and it'll be when they come around to that start-finish line. So in 4 kilometers or so, we'll see that get going again. I'm looking at those two cars. Those look identical to me. So other than the helmets, I think that they're just trying to make it difficult.
Yep, that's all we're going to be able to tell. Look for the Alonso helmet for Adrian.
Steve Cubey with a provisional fastest lap of 2 minutes and 3 seconds. I think that will probably get surpassed in these next couple laps, but has it for now.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Cubey has a pretty designated zone on when he can go to restart this race, but I think he's also going to do it strategically to not allow Thompson to get too large of a run on him going down into turn 1.
Yeah, it won't be an easy decision on when to go. This is a track that also in real life F2, just last year, a pretty disastrous crash as there was some confusion as the pole sitter was trying to, or the leader of the race on the restart was trying to leave it to the last possible second, and there was a lot of checking up in that final corner of Arie Luyendyk. Ended up being a pretty big collision before they even got to the green. So keep an eye out on that, because it definitely may be Cubey's desire to just wait until the absolute last possible second so that he doesn't get caught down that decently long straight.
Yeah, and with the way the tires are right now, if someone's on your inside there, it's a really good chance you're going to go too wide and lose the position. So going to be smart here.
This lap here, though, will definitely help the tires to a certain extent. They've been able to get the tires a little bit warm. They're not ice cold. I know they were just in the pits, but this will help as they can try to get them to temperature a little bit before they get started, and maybe a little bit easier on the drivers here in lap 1.
Yeah, I want to keep an eye on Ken Huber and Paletti as well, back in 9th and 10th, I believe.
Paletti in 9th. Yeah, Paletti in 9th.
I'm not sure what happened. One of the
Oh, I
drivers...
think the Huber he hasn't been cycled through. As when he crosses the line, I think he'll be in the correct position here as he's supposed to be. Cubey now coming around the last corner, and yeah, taking it slow so far, probably waiting to the last possible second. Let's check for any checkups in the back. As you can see them start to really group up here, all keeping it nice and clean. Cubey waiting it. That's the start line right there. As he's got to go, he goes on the green. So James Foreman already getting passed by John Kelly on the outside, and Stephen Thompson is going to be a little bit back there in second.
Curry going for the move on James Foreman here. Here he comes, and he's going to get it done as well.
Foreman not fighting this too much early, trying to keep the car clean, and that's his main goal here. Kevin Berquist narrowly avoiding that. It's going to be almost 3 wide.
That's not going to end well. That's not going to end well. Oh, my goodness. Ken Huber. Oh, Brad McCombs. Oh, it's complete disaster.
Oh, Ken Huber surviving that. A lot of guys off track. Hard to even know where to start, but Richard Curry there.
Oh, man.
Involved in this ahead of the incident, actually.
Oh. Yeah. The other incident, it looked like it was Kevin Berquist just coming back on there and unfortunately caught the tail end of Brad's car and sent that chain of reaction off there.
Yeah, Nürnberger didn't know where to go. Garcia getting rear-ended by a teammate there. Huber narrowly avoiding another big collision there, but it looks like everyone got going for the most part without any major damage. But Richard Curry is now down there in 12th, so he may have some damage on the car as he's dropped down to the last of the runners on the track.
Yeah, real unfortunate. It looks like Ken Huber does have a little bit of left front damage here. And what was so important was he had put a car between him and Paletti. He had gotten around Nürnberger. As we see Brad McCombs, huge crash. Oh, that's race ending right there for him.
Short sprint does have a pit stop, but if you have to tow, it may be over. And let's see what happens to him as he... and that was not his fault there.
Nope, just an innocent bystander.
I think that was Richard Curry who had gone off in front of him, and that was Chris Newby behind in the same car.
Yeah, it was actually Newby who was reversing there and collected Brad. I think that happened. Something similar happened last race with Newby, so real unfortunate.
So Thompson maintaining second place here behind Steve Cubey, who restarted this race in first. and started on the start of the pole for grid as well. Then back behind John Kelly, who took the spot from James Foreman in turn before they got to turn 1. He's in third.
Huber is closed the gap on Paletti. I don't know. Paletti might have something wrong. Paletti is struggling.
I wonder if Paletti also able to make the fuel go to the end of this. I mean, you're not supposed to be able to. We dropped the fuel load a little bit, but this is not a heavy on throttle circuit by any means, especially when you compare it to a couple of recent ones we've been to, like Monza and Spa.
I mean, if Paletti's going to do it in any race, this would be the one. I mean, he's already lost, I think, a little too much time to really challenge for the win unless there's some incidents. So maybe that is what he's doing.
4 laps into this 26-lap race, pretty short circuit, so that's why we got a lot of laps going there. But these three staying very close. This is Garcia, Huber, and Paletti. Didn't really get to see Garcia do a lot of racing as he had incidents early, and that is the move being made for Ken Huber on Paletti for 7th and 8th as it stands right now. And Paletti already passed here. There may be some damage that we can't see in that car because that was a lot of speed lost there in that straight.
I'm going to do some investigating, but that sounds like him saving fuel.
Yeah, that mean on the straight, that would make sense because it does seem like he does keep up here in the corners for the most part. So Brad McCombs out of this race. Chris Newby, despite being involved in that crash, came in the pits and did come out. So he is staying in this race to try to get some points from anybody having incidents in front. There is a pit stop in this race. I can't do the mental math here on if he's in that strategy or not. I don't think he is, though. Richard Curry coming into the pit lane as well. He will have probably some damage from. He just had an incident. He crashed into the wall on the outside of Kumo. So we've seen a lot of drivers do that in the previous heat and coming in to get that fixed.
Adrian all over Paletti. Oh, Paletti's coming in. Paletti has a meatball.
Wow, I can't see for the life of me in any of these shots what's wrong with the car.
Look at the rear wing. Look at the rear wing. It looks like it's a little lopsided.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, it's a little curved up on the left side. Didn't notice that at first, but yeah, I definitely see that.
Interesting. I will have to talk to him because we'll talk to him over his first win potentially here tonight. I would love to know what exactly happened to cause that damage.
Yeah, it looks like he probably got rear-ended is what I imagine happened here. And yeah, you can see with this close-up shot, that left side of the rear wing that's all crumpled. I'm surprised. I mean, it certainly has affected his pace. I am surprised that that's enough to be a meatball, but you can see there how much it got shifted to be correct there as he gets going. And don't know if that was in the, if that was in fuel strategy or not.
6 laps, 20 laps. I think he's going to be right on the edge. I think he'll be fine. But he's going to have a very tall ask to get that 8th win in a row here tonight.
Yeah, this has not been a dream start for him. He's had some tough races that he's won so far, but he is now down in 9th place. Might still be off the pit strategy and 22 seconds back from 8th.
Yeah, not a lot happening up front. Gap is still about a second between Cube and Thompson, so those drivers just kind of mirroring each other. In fact, the quickest car on the track right now is in P5, Nuremberger, a few tenths quicker than the leaders, so we'll see if Zach can maybe pull off some kind of miracle strategy to get in this race for the win.
Yeah, last lap for Cube was a personal best, a little bit slower in that one, but it's been consistent for the last couple here. Now Cube's time on this lap was another low 130, but Steve Thompson coming in there with a 29.4.
That's strong. That's quicker than anyone's. Almost a whole second quicker than just about the entire field out there. That's impressive.
Yeah, nobody else having broken into the 129 so far in this race. We saw a good amount of that in the previous heat, but a lot of it usually took drivers a few laps to get into that. Already, Stephen Thompson putting in a very fast time there. Still has some time to gain to start to make the move. And this lap looks like it's been a little bit, at least not quite as dominant as a previous lap was.
Yeah, I tell you what, Cube, with this performance in this second race here, I think Curry had gained a few points on him in the first race, but I think Curry's going to lose all those points he had gained on him here. So something to keep an eye on if Cube can hold it up front. And, of course, Paul Boyle not here tonight, second in the A standings. So both of those drivers looking to maybe overtake him in the points.
Yeah, good point on mentioning his absence there. Very fast driver that's had a lot of good results, and don't have him here tonight. Meanwhile, also Zach Nuremberger is up 3 spots. A lot of drivers losing spots, or maybe only getting up a couple. He's up 3 spots, and he was the top finisher of the B class drivers in the last race as well. He got that 3rd place, so this is shaping up early to be potentially another feature win for Nuremberger in that B class.
Yeah, very strong. Well, I mean, man, Thompson puts in another strong lap there. He's gonna keep clawing into that lead there. And here, as we see Ken Huber putting a move on Berquist, trying to bounce back from his initial terrible start, getting caught up in that incident.
Yeah, makes the move. I think he thought about making the move and then realized he wasn't close enough. But then Berquist, playing it safe, gave him the room anyway, and so then decided to take that open door. So Ken Huber on the way through to 6th place. Again, 2 different classes. The positions still count, but these guys not competing with each other on the season as far as the championship. And Berquist is a competitor there in that B class. However, his closest guy, Stephen Thompson there, who he did have the advantage on in the first race, is up there in 2nd place, as you can see.
Yeah, pretty wild to look at the top 5, and 4 of them are B. All the A drivers just not having a good night. Just incidents and all the variables that this track brings. But if anyone could bounce back and get into that top 5 here, I think it's going to be Ken Huber. He's looking really strong, and so is Adrian. So keep an eye on those 2 as this race progresses.
Yeah, the overall standings are mixed all over the place between A and B as well, kind of showing that the race pace, and Zach Nuremberger there making the move on James Foreman. James Foreman has had an incident.
Yeah, he looks like he looped it.
To see what happens coming into the braking zone of that tight. Let's see. I actually wasn't in the braking, though. It was the curb. Curb unsettled the car. Nuremberger slides by with a matter of just a couple inches.
Yeah, nice paint there for James. That Lamborghini Ferrari-esque design. I really like that, but unfortunately not having a good show in there, getting a little squirrely and losing quite a bit of time, but he'll try to bounce back here.
Yeah, he's currently down in 8th. Obviously losing spots, but he started up there in 3rd. And obviously with the reverse grid, it's no shame for anybody starting up at the front to lose spots. However, Cube and Thompson here now, partially because they had
Thompson.
As he maybe does a full 360, he's able to get going again. Maybe not even heating the tires up. That's John Kelly avoiding that, loses the spot, but Thompson actually keeps going. Not such a bad result.
Highlight reel. That was amazing. I mean, you can't do that on iRacing. The cars, once they hit the grass, they're gone. That was incredible to watch him loop that and hold on to that.
Just taking a little bit too much speed there as he goes out wide. Haven't seen an incident like that so far, and quite graceful.
Yeah, that looked like something out of Gymkhana. That was cool.
So that gives Steve Cube a pretty big buffer now, breathing room in that lead. So started in 1st, and usually you expect the pole sitter in reverse grid to drop spots, but Cube had that pace in that first heat. Just had some incidents that took him out of that race, unfortunately. Now he's able to show that there at the front of the field with about 5 seconds clear behind him. And again, in a shorter format as well. So with 16 laps to go, we're already just a couple laps away from getting to that halfway point.
Yeah, this race is flying by as we see Ken Huber put in another really strong lap in the 29s, continuing to cut the gap down to, I believe, Zach in front of him. So that's going to get interesting here in a few laps, I think.
A lot of guys right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of guys right now separated by 2 or 3 seconds, so we don't have anyone really pressuring each other real close on track, but everyone within touching distance, if anything were to happen.
Absolutely. Of course, the driver that actually has the most podiums across both classes this season, Zach Nuremberger, at a total of 8. So he's podiumed in all, but I believe... No, it'd be all the races. That'd be all the races, because we've had 8 races coming into this race here tonight. So looking to keep that streak alive. And right now it is 3rd in his class. So pretty cool stat there for Zach.
Yeah, of course, clarify that podium in the class, not the overall podium in every race. If that were the case, I think he would be leading the overall.
Yeah.
But it has been a really good season for Nuremberger. He's not in the A class because he's just narrowly been outside of that qualifying cutoff, which is at the top 35% for your first 3 attended races. He was just outside of that for at least 2 of those 3, and so remains a B-class driver for the rest of the season, and is doing quite well. Coming into this race, was up 26 points on Thompson, gained some more on Thompson in that first heat, but as you can see, he's right behind him on track for this one.
Yeah, here's our first pit stop. I believe this is scheduled. Adrian coming in, getting this few. Yeah. Stops a little short in his box, so he's going to lose a little bit of time there, but comes on back out. So definitely in the pit window now. So we'll see if we start to see some other drivers start to come in.
Yeah, extremely short stop. Makes you wonder if that really was Paletti. If he thought maybe, he had the damage, and maybe the idea was, well, I've got damage. I'm not going to be able to go full pace. Let's see if I can just save some fuel. But I guess he would have already had the meatball, but that could have been a strategy call if he had not received that call-in flag, which, again, meatball, meaning you have to come in or you get disqualified within 3 laps.
And I think Paletti used that up to the maximum. I think he did all 3 laps, which was probably to get him as close as he could to the fuel window. So,
yeah, I guess in the end, maybe there's some fuel saving just to make it to that stop and have enough fuel for the rest of the race. So that may be something to keep in mind. I mean, he did not stop very long. It was an extremely short stop.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, Ken Huber, it looks like may have taken another second out of Zach Nurnberger, but here comes a couple guys into the pits. John Kelly and Zach both in.
Okay. Kelly disappeared for a second there, and he's out of the car.
That's a Joe. Yeah, what?
Out of the car, which means he is. I mean, when the driver's helmet's not there, he's. I don't know what's happening with Kelly's maybe connection or something right now, but Nurnberger's in and out. Kelly was second place when he came into the pits, and it was on schedule. It didn't seem. Maybe he sped. Does he have a black flag that he's waiting out or something?
No black flag, so I don't know what happened there. That was really strange. He entered the pits and then immediately towed, and now he is retired. So. That's real unfortunate.
I couldn't even think of an explanation for that right now, but that gives everybody behind him another position, and that does put Ken Huber on the podium spots for now. So Ken Huber there in third, despite, of course, was involved in an incident on the red flag, was able to reclaim his position, and then even on that restart, got hampered a decent amount, had to slow down, and up 6 spots regardless, up from 9th to 3rd.
Yeah. And I think right now he's just staying out, trying to make the most of it on these warm tires. We'll see if he can make up some ground on those 2 leaders and potentially even get around the driver who just pitted, which I believe was Nurnberger. So, and here he comes into the pits.
This is Kevin Burke was having an incident here in Kumo, going out wide. Oh, man. See, you could tell he let off throttle, and it still just wasn't enough because it's just so bumpy there. Your car just goes airborne, and you lose control regardless.
Yeah, you're on for the ride at that point. He does come in, won't lose a ton of time on that, but don't know if he wanted to pit yet or not, but doesn't really have a choice. As we see Ken Huber and Zach Nurnberger side by side into turn 1.
Nurnberger, unfortunately, not able to take that preferred inside because that's where the pit exit is, and Ken Huber's going to be ahead here, and he didn't take tires, so he's going to have decently warm tires to defend here. He's staying ahead of Nurnberger so far, and I'm not sure if Nurnberger's going to have a chance here. No passing opportunity coming up here into Shivlak, so Ken Huber may have timed that pit stop perfectly because he was able to get out ahead and is currently in 4th now, despite having made that stop, and a couple guys ahead not doing so yet.
Yeah, he should cycle out in 3rd, and I'll be really curious to see how far behind he is on Thompson and Cube once this all shakes out. But Cube having a great race out front, just continuing to just manage the gap between him and Thompson. And Thompson having a great race this time around, hasn't looped it at all yet. I think he's gotten more familiar with the car now and has settled down.
Yeah, Thompson learning a lot from that first heat, I imagine. Made a couple mistakes, and we have definitely not seen that so far in this heat as he's done well there. So leading the B class and in that 2nd overall position. Had the win almost in the bag in Silverstone, if you remember, from that first week. And maybe he can try to get some redemption for that with another really good finish here.
Yeah, we'll see. Ken Huber pulling the gap little by little on Nürnberger here as he comes out, and this is gonna be really interesting to see what kind of time Huber can make up in this clean racetrack. Although he is coming up on James Foreman here, so he might lose a little bit of time there.
Yeah, and we are past that halfway point of the race, so a lot of the guys probably, if they haven't pit now, they're thinking of doing so soon. So Foreman may pit to get out of his way regardless. But yeah, with this sprint race, we've already made our way pretty far into this event, and not a whole lot longer for these guys. Again, you have to keep in mind too, we had that red flag, and then we had the restart. So these last 12 laps are going to come fast.
Yeah, especially once these leaders make their final pit stop. Depending on what happens, it could really bring the field closer back together, or bring someone into this that we're not even expecting. I mean, a lot can happen here as this winds down, so I'll be really curious to see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually seen any big mistakes with pit entry. It's a very tough pit entry. I don't think we've seen anybody get a penalty, and I don't think we've seen anyone really lose too much time. So everyone's done a really good job with that, because you don't get as much practice with pit stops as you do with the rest of the track in these very difficult corners, which those certainly have been a bit of a handful for a lot of these drivers.
Absolutely, especially tonight. I mean, I think we've more than doubled what we've had incident-wise here tonight, but like there hasn't been super race-ending crashes though either, like some of the other races we've been to. So keeping an eye, it looks like Ken Huber is cut it down to about half a second now between him and James Foreman. So that battle is heating up here.
Not only that, Huber definitely has this spot in the net race because Foreman has not made the stop yet. Have to wonder where that puts him with Thompson. But this should put Huber in the position to get the A-Class feature win if he places up here as well, because he was only one spot back, of course. He was in second place, only one spot back from Paletti, and he currently is 3 spots up on him in this race.
Yeah, and it looks like Bergquist might be sizing Paletti up here. It was a lot quicker than him last lap, so I don't know what the difference in speed was there, but definitely looks like Paletti might be saving fuel or something here just to get to the end.
Let's see, is Huber potentially close enough to make a move when they now come into turn 1, as long as Foreman doesn't already come into the pits. We also just saw an incident here for Richard Curry back there in 9th place.
It's the dead corner again.
Yeah.
It's another car.
Spinning to the inside has been a frequent occurrence, although he has a little bit of difficulty rejoining the track as well. And even a bit of a tap on the wall to boot. And
that's the leader.
Yeah, that was Steve Kubik getting held up a little bit there. Maybe if we see the timing, actually really didn't see him like he lost that much time to Thompson. He's actually pulled away a little bit.
Probably scared him though a little bit. I mean, that's not something you expect to come out of that corner and see a car sitting there. So I'm sure that spooked him a little, but other than that, I think he's all right. Yeah. Oh yeah, Paletti's definitely saving fuel. Just had to give up the spot to Bergquist going down the straight. So Paletti definitely in the fuel range to maybe not make it.
So that was Huber taking the position on Foreman in the final corner before they even got to the straight. And now Zach Nürnberger trying to get that spot as well. Kevin Bergquist and Chris Newby.
Huge crash. Oh, they crash again. Oh, no.
This is Bergquist. That's Paletti between Bergquist and Newby. Bergquist already a little bit loose on the tires, getting hot. Paletti narrowly avoids that. I can't. Oh, and that, yeah.
Yeah, they're still. They finally got going now, but that was a long crash.
So Paletti lucky to avoid that. Let's see if we can see what that...
Oh, what in the world? Something happened to Richard Curry in turn 1. That was a very odd-looking crash. The tail end of it, I caught. I guess it was just that he had it in reverse or something. That was...
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Wanted to see the incident in that corner there from Paletti's point of view. Oh, I'm this wrong incident here. It's this right here. Paletti, he's sandwiched between 2 cars right now. Bergquist already getting a little loose right there. You can see a little bit slip angle to the right, and that's why he loses it when he heads to the left. And Paletti just hoping that he doesn't slide back too far.
Yeah, Paletti just put in his faith that Bergquist would hold the brake, and Bergquist did, so that worked out for him.
Nuremberger's still not able to make it around Foreman as Huber has started to pull away. The two drivers were pretty close before, but Nuremberger seems to be struggling a little bit to get around Foreman as Foreman has not made his pit stop yet, and Nuremberger has.
Yeah, and it looks like pit lane time is about 23 seconds. So that puts Huber about, what, 4 seconds behind Thompson right now?
Yeah, maybe only a second closer than he was before he came into the pits, so it doesn't look like it's been a huge change, a huge shakeup between those two drivers. We'll see, how that really pans out when Thompson actually makes the stop, but yeah, if that time that you're calling out is what we're looking at for the pit lane loss, then I don't think that he's going to be moving up further than third, at least through the pit cycle.
Exactly. And time is running out for him. I mean, he is the quickest car of the top three right now, but just losing that time at the beginning due to all the craziness in the back has really hindered him this race, because he definitely has the pace. As we see Nuremberger get around James Foreman there.
Speaking of pace there, Adrian Garcia-Vigil, who we see in the back of the screen there trying to catch up to Foreman as well, just put in a 1:29.24. And I'm trying to think of what we had the fast. I'm sorry, a little bit of a curse there as he gets it going though. No. But I'm trying to think of what the fastest lap we had in the first heat was, but that's got to be pretty close to it. That was a really fast lap there as Vigil's really showing out in this sprint race.
I believe fastest lap was a 1:29.4 by Paletti, so I believe he has eclipsed that, and he'll get that on the stat sheet tonight. That is a fantastic lap around here.
Yeah, definitely pushing the tires a little bit on the lap is a little bit of a slide as he went through Hans Hulkenbach, but not anything that he wasn't able to recover from. And he's currently at sixth, has Foreman in front. saw the position switch. Thought maybe Thompson had made the move. Cube into the pits, so Thompson taking it the longest of this top three here.
Yeah, that was scary, man. I thought something had happened, so I'm glad to see that nothing. Oh, Adrian. Something just happened to Adrian.
It wasn't my fault this time. He wasn't on screen. It wasn't the commentator's curse. But again, does look like his car's pointing the right way. But yeah, he has lost a couple seconds to Foreman. He was sub 1 second. Now he's 3.7 seconds back. 7 laps to go. Still has that chance. Well, I guess I think that he's already made his stop. So I think this will be all right for him. But it does kind of neuter his ability to potentially catch up to Nuremberger there, who's in fourth.
Yes, that's the challenge there. I don't know if we're able to see when everyone's last pit was, just to kind of get a feel for who still needs to make their pit stop. Looks like definitely Cube's in right now. We got Thompson, who I guess still needs to pit.
Yeah, Cube made his stop. Thompson has not stopped yet. May expect him in this lap or next lap. And Foreman, as we just talked about, the other driver who hasn't stopped yet. I don't know if Curry's going to make it to the end there, as he had to stop pretty early, not due to choice. He's currently sitting in 8th place. Pretty big gap behind, though, so he has a pit stop's worth of space to make a stop.
Thompson's still going here. Is there any... Stephen Thompson is one driver that I know can, save fuel. Is there any way you think he could make it to the end?
I mean, he's been putting in some fast laps. Based on kind of what we've seen Paletti have to do to try to make it, I would imagine that it's not possible. And maybe Thompson just thinking that this clean air pay. I mean, why not take advantage of being able to drive out here? There's no one even remotely close in front of him, no one to affect him. James Foreman now comes into the pits, so I mean, maybe Thompson's able to make it work on the fuel. Usually my fuel calls are the opposite of what happens, but I have to imagine he's just taking advantage of this clean track right now.
That makes sense. And James Foreman just comes in for his stop, so looks like Thompson is the sole remaining survivor out there on the original fuel tank, so we'll see what happens here.
So Foreman is coming out around 7th place, not too far behind Paletti, so goes to show Paletti had the damage and got it fixed, but it goes to show how much time he lost just from that and from doing some fuel saving as well, because he is down there in 6th place and is in danger of losing the spot to Foreman to drop down to 7th.
Oh, okay, yep, and that answers our question. Thompson in, so did not make it on fuel.
Yeah, probably able to save it better than most. A couple lapped drivers coming around the corners there. So we wait to see Cube pull around. So that's Cube, and he is coming down the main straight. He's going to be ahead of Thompson. We'll see how this changes the gap, but Thompson's just now getting going out of his box. He was pretty far up because he started in 2nd. And he has caught up, but with 5 laps to go, he's got to be putting on a second faster than Cube in front, and the same goes for Ken Huber as well. And I just don't foresee that kind of pace differential happening when they're all on the same fuel and tire strategy.
It's going to take some kind of mistake on any of these drivers' parts to, I think, change that top 3 at this point. Although Ken's going to try. Ken is flying out there, so we'll see.
It hasn't been a perfect race as far as mistakes have gone, but drivers have been, in general, pretty good with avoiding the major mistakes that we saw in the feature race, especially there in some of the problem corners. I don't think we've only seen like one person go off in Kumho, which is the second to last corner. Only a couple incidents in Hugenholzbach, so I think that they're starting to get to grips with this track a little bit better, unfortunately, as this event comes to an end.
Yeah, I think your muscle memory starts to kick in after the first race. I know when I used to run these cars, first race I'd make a ton of mistakes, and then by the second race I'd be in much better place. So I think just the muscle memory. I'm sure a lot of these guys probably don't put as much practice into this as they do for E4A, just because those are longer races. So I think some of these guys, I'm sure, use that first race as kind of like a test session. So coming alive here at the end.
I'll have you know I don't practice. So
well, there you go.
The gaps between these top 3 not really changed, actually. Really, all the top 5 all separated by about 4 seconds, which is a large gap to overcome for all these guys who have some pretty good pace. So I mean, you see Ken Huber there, I think probably the fastest of this top 5, but not enough that he should really be threatening Stephen Thompson. But we'll see if there's any mistakes made.
James Foreman just went off. It was interesting because James had actually closed in on Paletti there, but kind of lost all that time he gained now.
Yeah, I have to wonder if Paletti's hurting on fuel. And actually there you see Foreman, despite the incident, just caught up 7/10 down that straight. I wonder if Paletti is about to run out here and knows how close it is.
Yeah, he is lifting and coasting incredibly a lot more so than I think he would like.
Bit of a lockup there too, as he probably tries to put a little bit more stress on the tires to take the stress off the engine and save a little bit of fuel. It can be a risky strategy when you push it too far, but Foreman now down to 1.4 seconds.
Go on board with Paletti here. You can hear he is like nursing the throttle. He's probably right at the end of his fuel tank.
Oh, he's not even. Yeah, just from that quick clip there. Anyone who was able to hear the engine notes there, he is not pressing the throttle, barely at all. He is not going to be able to stay ahead of Foreman here. He'll be fine with Curry behind, as that gap behind Foreman is a minute 15. But this is probably going to be a 7th place for Paletti.
Yeah, he is just closing him down incredibly. He's 4 seconds the lap off. I just wonder if maybe pitting would have been the better call there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm just, making assumptions, but I have to wonder.
Yeah, again, mentioned it a lot of times here in the booth, but that's the difficulty of sim racing, is that you're the crew chief, you're the engineer, you're the driver. Like, luckily this is fixed setup, so they don't have to deal with setting up the car as well, but making all these strategy decisions. And the best spotter you've got is usually just a robot voice that can tell you where a driver is. So it's very difficult to do all these things at once, still be quite successful, especially when you're making a fuel strategy call like he's had to do here.
Yeah, just wait till we get Chat GPT in there as our crew chief, and we'll be smooth sailing.
I've already seen some Chat GPT commentating, so
yes.
A little bit afraid of that taking my job there.
Man, we got personality. We don't have to worry about that.
James Foreman obviously didn't have, he just had the pace there, just didn't have the opportunity to get around in that very difficult corner of Mastersbach. But it does look like Paletti's picked it up a little bit. Obviously in defense. Oh, man, 129.1 by Garcia.
Yeah, that is incredible.
He's actually
he is
closed
flying.
that to 2.5 seconds to Nürnberger. It just, if this were a feature-length race, I think he would have a discussion here, but as they are on lap 24, it's just going to be 2 to go, and against the same deal, like I said, with the previous heat, where the passing opportunity is into turn 1, meaning the the very start of the final lap is your last best opportunity to really make that move.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a what could have been race for Adrian. He had race-winning pace here by far, flying around here.
Yeah, luckily getting to show it better than he was able to in that first heat. Had a couple incidents that took him out of it early, though. We knew he had that pace, and it's gone better for him today. Still not probably the optimal result, given how fast he's been, but he's really shown out a lot, and may pressure Zach a little bit here into the twilight laps of this race. But I think Nürnberger's probably going to be, and that's going to help Nürnberger there. It's a commentator's curse. And Garcia, none the worse.
Thanks to him this race, man.
Yeah, it happens. So that's out of the. Kent Huber has brought it to 2 seconds to Thompson, and now he sets a purple lap of a 129 flat, nearly getting into the 28s here, which is absolutely ludicrous. But 2 laps to go, 2 seconds. I'm not sure if this is going to be able to happen.
Yeah, keep an eye on Foreman here. I think he's gotten close enough to Paletti now. Yep,
Yeah, it's happening now. Yep. So may not be too exciting to see here as Paletti's running out of fuel into Hans Erzbach, and just has to let him go by as he lifts completely down that back straight.
And the gaps are closing, like you said, but just too little too late between the 3 leaders.
Yeah, even if this were 30 laps long, potentially this would be in the cards for Huber to get up to second. But with just a couple laps to go, he would have to be
off. Just slightly off. Didn't lose a lot of time, but he went wide there, and that cost him maybe like 2 or 3 tenths. So these guys are still pushing out here. They're still pushing hard.
Yeah, you still have to keep. You can't. A lot of drivers know that when you start to relax, if you start to, okay, I'm going to drive safe, that's when you make the mistakes. So you still got to stay on it. Without making too many undue risks. But like this right here, this is the last great passing opportunity for Huber as we start the final lap, and he's obviously a 1.5 seconds back, so I don't think there's anything he's going to be able to do as long as Thompson keeps it on track. But just such a strong showing for all these guys here at the top of this field. Have had the gaps to not need to race each other all that much, but they've just put in really clean laps with it, just really no mistakes.
Yeah, he almost just needed 1 more lap or 2 more laps to get the job done, possibly on Steven Thompson there. But I think unless something major happens, he'll have to settle for 3rd.
And of course, we don't know how Thompson's driving. I mean, Thompson may very well be driving with all this known in mind as well. Just, I've only got 1 more lap to go. I can take it a little bit easy. I can lose a little bit of time. He may have some left in the tank that he could have deployed if this were a couple laps longer. But all we know is the situation we're in now, and with just 1 more shot for Huber as they come into Hans Erzbach. This is it, the exit of turn 10 to send him into it, and he's over second back. So Steve Cubey, 3 seconds ahead, looks like as long as he makes it through this chicane cleanly, will come away as the winner for this sprint race and for the A-Class.
Oh, big crash for Adrian. He's going to try to limp it back to the pits with 3 tires, but it's going to be difficult for him.
We'll check the replay on that after we watch these guys cross the line here. Steve Cubey cleanly through the final corner here at Circus Zandvoort. Very tough track. Steve Cubey is our sprint race winner there, 3 seconds ahead of Steven Thompson, who's coming in second. Ken Huber just needed a couple more laps, wasn't able to make it happen. 6 tenths back, and he is in 3rd place. Looks like Zach Nürnberger will be crossing the line in 4th. By my calculations, is the event winner for our B-Class drivers today. And let's see, Garcia Vigil is actually 3-wheeled, trying to pull a Lewis Hamilton.
He's got 5 seconds on James Foreman here. It's going to be close. Oh, he goes wide. Oh.
more Lewis Hamilton than Lewis Hamilton, as he actually is on three wheels. James Foreman's going to make that pass, unfortunately, as they come to just these last couple corners, but it's going to be difficult for him to make his way around here.
And he stay ahead of Paletti. That's important.
James Foreman swings it around Ari Leyendijk and will cross the line in a great fifth place, back behind Nicholas Paletti, able to make the move at the line on Garcia Vigil with three wheels. Four wheels is better than three, and a half-tenth, unfortunately, for Vigil that he loses out there. Curry, 8th place, Kevin Berquist in 9th, and Christopher Newby will be the last guy across the line here, finishing in 10th place for this sprint race.
That's a real heartbreak for Adrian. Had a top 5 there, and unfortunately had that incident on the last lap that took him out of it. But nonetheless, I believe he's going to walk away with the fastest lap, or maybe Ken Huber will. One of those two drivers definitely will.
I believe, yeah, Ken Huber, fastest lap of a 1:29.07, was able to pip Garcia by 700ths. Those guys were definitely duking it out on that front, but incredible, nearly getting into the 28s. So Ken Huber, with a second place and a third place, is your A-class champion for the event, and Zach Nurnberger, with a third and a fourth, is your B-class champion. All right, let's pull up our final results here. As you can see, Steve Cubey there as our sprint race winner. First win on the season for Steve Cubey. And following him, Stephen Thompson, who gets his second heat win, there in the B class. And Ken Huber coming in third, Zach Nurnberger fourth, and James Foreman able to take that spot at the line from Garcia to get in fifth. Nicholas Paletti takes it by 5/10 at the line for sixth, with Garcia finishing there in seventh from the late incident. Berquist in eighth and Curry in ninth, with Newby finishing out in 10th. Kelly, McCombs, and not able to finish the race, and McDonald and Barnett not taking the grid.
Yeah, let's talk to Zach and talk to our B class event winner here and see what he experienced here tonight. Zach, you got a copy?
Yep, I got you guys.
All right, so kind of a more quiet race from you tonight. The first race, you started shotgun on the grid, made it up to, I believe, third overall, and then the second race, another good, solid race. I think you were up 4 positions. Tell us about that. Tell us about both your races here tonight.
Yeah, the first one started in the back, obviously. We had no red flag, and the field got spread out pretty good. Really hard to pass. You kind of just had to hope going to that final set of corners you could get real close, and the slipstream worked well enough. But yeah, if you just didn't have slipstream in that final straight, you were kind of toast. But other than that, just didn't really lock up the tires, and it served me well. Got some fresh ones because I had a gap, and just kind of cruise around the 2.0Xs.
I think maybe the subtext of Aaron saying that you had a clean race was not picking up an EOL for this race. So we'll be able to start where you qualify next race, which is good news. But with the tires, you mentioned as you took some because you had that gap. We saw most drivers at least who were fighting for positions not take them. We saw a couple times that drivers took it, and it did seem to negatively impact them for at least a few laps. Were the tires just too cold in the first few laps of a stint here at this track?
Yeah, that second race, just for reference, I think I was down to about 75, 77. So for that full race, of course, a little bit worse. We were all kind of all talking. The consensus was just, if you don't really have a gap, if you have a gap to someone behind you, just kind of take them, because why not? It can only help you if something happens in front. But yeah, they were just it just pushed a lot. It wasn't, like no grip on throttle or mid corner or anything like that. It just kind of felt sluggish on the brakes. But luckily, I mean, as you can obviously see, it's, a lot of corners, a lot of high speed stuff. So if you can just kind of fight the push for a lap or two, they warm up a lot quicker than they would on perhaps some other tracks. Whether it was better or worse, I think it's pretty negligible. But with the gap I had, just trying to solidify P3, keep some fresh tires, had the grip, and just try and keep the incidents clean.
Well, Zach, we head to Barcelona next, and you have a pretty good grasp on the B class championship lead right now with Steven Thompson and Kevin Berquist in second and third. Talk about your championship hopes as you move into these last two races of the season.
Yeah, Barcelona. I think one of my more favorite tracks. I know it's one of those tracks you kind of love it or hate it. There's always talk of the chicane and stuff, but a track I've ran a lot of F4 there, so I think that will carry over. And yeah, I mean, I think at this point, it's just kind of not doing anything too silly. You don't need to. I'm kind of in a position where you don't have to make that dive bomb pass for the win, or uh, you know, try and go wheel to wheel for a podium spot. So I think just kind of doing it again what I did today, just being patient, being calm, and just let the car come to me, and hopefully we can get this thing wrapped up sooner rather than later.
Well, congratulations on another heat win here, or event win for the B class. Continuing to spread that lead that you've got, and staying there in second place in the overall championship as well. So we hope to see some more success. We got a couple more driver tracks coming up with Barcelona and Imola. So good luck to you, and we hope to hear from you again.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Zach.
All right. So we have a couple drivers we can pull from here. It looks like Ken Huber was our A class overall winner. But let's actually talk to Steve Cube right now, who was our sprint winner here. Steve, you got a copy?
I do. You got me?
I got you. So talk about that sprint race there at the end, man. You looked like you had a pretty good grasp on it from start to finish.
Oh, the car had tons of grip, and I was liking that. I'll tell you. Yes, I guess Steve Thompson. He was really making me work for it, though.
It looked like, especially at that initial standing start, you guys had a pretty good scrap there in turns 1 through 3. What was your experience there on the start as you two really seemed to rock it off ahead of the rest of the pack?
Yeah, I think it was just a question of who was going to blink first going into. I guess it was turn 3 there, and Steven backed out a bit, and that's all I needed to get in front of him, and then it was just kind of focus on my apexes and keep it from whipping around.
Well, Steve, as we head into Barcelona next week, or I guess 2 weeks from now, talk about your hopes for that race as you move, I believe, in second into the points.
Ooh, Barcelona. It's not one of my not one of my favorite ones. I pulled this off because I'm familiar with it, but Barcelona tends to bite me when I'm not thinking about it. So I think I'm gonna have to put a concerted effort into keeping it going the right way this time.
Well, it was a great win that you had here today. We're able to win it with a few seconds in hand as well. So congratulations on your heat victory here. You know, Barcelona might be a tough one, but we might be able to hear from you again if you pull out another win here next week or a couple weeks from now. So good luck to you, and we hope to hear from you soon, Steve.
Well, thanks. I'm going to give it my all, that's for sure. And just like to thank the Lee for having me on board.
Yep, no problem. We thank you for participating, of course. So have a good night, Steve, and have a good one.
Okay, you too.
All right. Let's see if we can get a hold of Ken Huber here, our A class winner. See if he'll come down here. Hey, Ken, you got a copy?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Well, pretty good. That was an exciting first race you had there with Poletti. Talk us through that battle that you had with him. Coming back, I know you were in the lead and you got, I think, into a lap car that unfortunately was rejoining. Talk about that bounce back to fight Poletti for the win there.
Oh, that was pretty awesome. Well, I knew Paletti made a mistake. We were just talking about that, and Paletti was the guy I had to beat tonight, and I certainly tried. And he had a good car, I had a good car, so we just went at it that first lap. I'm sure you guys were watching that. We were both on cold tires, and it's so difficult to pass anywhere in these cars. I was trying to get that track position, and then Paletti had his incident, and I was thinking, okay, I could just coast now. And then, like you said, I got behind that lapper who was recovering from something, and I just misjudged his braking zone, and yeah, so that allowed Paletti back up to me, so we were able to duke it out for the rest of the race. So at least we made it exciting for you guys.
I have to, wonder what was your experience different with the sprint race versus the feature race? Because there in the sprint race, you had like a 5 second cap. I mean, if it had been a 30 lap race, you may have actually been able to make that move as it came down to the wire between you and Nürnberger. But you put in the fastest lap of the race, nearly getting into the 28s, which was a good half second faster than any of the times in that initial feature race. So did the track like cool down a lot, or what was your experience?
Yeah, I don't know. I might have just got adjusted from the feature and just was driving it too hard because I did start putting down some fast laps towards the end, but I went in early under the get fuel and stuff because I thought the car might have been damaged because I was slower. I was like, why am I going so slow? And yeah, I can't really explain it, but I did start picking it up towards the end, but a little too late.
Well, looking ahead to Barcelona, what are your thoughts on that track as you continue to climb your way up through the standings? I know that a lot of the races this season haven't gone your way just due to connection issues, but you're really coming on strong here towards the end.
Yeah, no, I've had strong cars every week, and the connection issue is it's kind of sucked to be honest with you guys. I got the cable guys coming out here; they're digging a hole in my house trying to put a new line in, but it's going to take some time. So hopefully, we won't have any of that. But Barcelona, it's a good track for me. I don't know how I'll be. I'm sure I'll be competitive. I'm competitive most places, but Barcelona is a good track. These cars ought to be a lot of fun there. So looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations on that A-class event victory here today with the second and the fourth place. Pulled away the most points in the A-class and the most overall. So, again, congratulations on the result here with a couple more rounds to go as we're down here on the home stretch. We hope to hear from you again soon, and we hope you have a good night, Ken.
Thank you guys. You too.
All right, and that was our event winner there, Ken Huber. So, congratulations to him. As we had a wonderful race here at Zandvoort, I knew it would be a difficult race, but it really still ended up giving plenty of exciting wheel-to-wheel action between these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was probably one of the most exciting races so far this season. We saw a really great battle for the A-class win and the overall win in the first race. And the second race was just kind of coming together there at the end. But, man, it was exciting to watch this tonight. Great track, great racing. Good job to everybody out there.
So, again, if you are here to watch the endurance racing as well, that will be next week, and that'll be at my personal favorite track on the service of iRacing, which is Canadian Tire Mosport. So we will have our GT3 and LMP3 race there next week. If you're here for the open wheel in 2 weeks' time, we're at Barcelona as our penultimate round for this open wheel for amateur season. So we hope to see you there same time next week or 2 weeks from now. Have a good night.